Well, you're watching the Urban Debate on Magicbricks Now. I'm Fadi Souza. We're going to revisit a story that we had taken up a couple of weeks ago about heart patients who were being forced to pay anything that came to mind for a stent. The government, I'm glad to report to you today, has capped the price of those stents. Angioplasties are set to become a lot cheaper, with the NPPA, or the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, capping the price of life-saving coronary stents by 85% at 29,600. This order came out. Until now, a stent would cost anywhere between 40,000 and 2 lakh rupees, irrespective of what it costs to actually make them. Now, patients and public health organizations are naturally completely enthused, but the industry is in a bit of a state of a shock. Here's a special report on what's happening.
In a major relief to lakhs of heart patients across the country, the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority brought down prices of life-saving coronary stents from 1.2 lakh rupee to 29,600 rupees. What this essentially means is that all kinds of stents, imported or domestic, will cost the same amount. This move has been brought about after hospitals were allegedly charging patients exorbitant amounts with a markup of more than 100%. Public health organizations are naturally enthused.
As you know, the Ministry of Health's expert subcommittee had noted that there is a massive unmet need. And we feel that capping the price at what they have done, which is around 7,000 for bare metal stents and 30,000 for drug-eluting stents, will actually ensure that it improves accessibility and affordability of the stents.
The National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority has also mandated hospitals bill cardiac stents and procedure package separately. Hospitals Magicbricks Now contacted say that although there was a bit of confusion the day this was notified, they have now told their suppliers about the change and have started to implement it.
So all hospitals will have to fall in line, no? And they have to charge the same price, whatever has been suggested. And that is 29,600, the optimal price for a stent. And whatever adjustments the hospital and the manufacturer and or supplier makes, that they have to do it immediately, no?
But the industry is still in shock. Foreign stent manufacturers, who will be the worst hit, say that this could further hamper innovation in coming times.
When people come up with better or newer or more efficacious products, they'll perhaps target other markets first and then target India after they gain scale in those markets, because India is not going to remain as profitable for those innovative products.
Domestic stent manufacturers whose stents cost much lesser than foreign-made stents say that the government has not given them any transition time.
I can't imagine doctors telling the patients that I will not do surgery until I've got clarity from the suppliers. And if the doctor continues with the surgery and he sends credit notes across to the distributors, and distributors expect this will be settled by the manufacturer, this is going to cause lots of hardship.
However, public health organizations contend that there is no scientific data to prove this statement, considering the prices at which these stents are manufactured is much lower. Despite the industry pointing out a number of challenges when it comes to fixing ceiling prices for cardiac stents, good news says that the number of angioplasties and the number of patients who can afford to undergo these treatments will only increase. This is Amita Balachandra for Magicbricks Now.
Well, obviously there was a case for a cap, as we had established on this channel 2 months ago, that people who go in to actually have these surgeries are sometimes charged upwards of 2 lakh rupees for a stent that doesn't cost even a tenth to manufacture. The question is the cap an overkill? Is the cap too low? Should there have been varied ranges in that cap? And is it fair to the people who manufacture and who actually sell the stents? Joining me on the show this evening, Dr. Sanjeev Mehta of Lilavati Hospital, Dr. B.K. Goyal, cardiologist in Mumbai, Dr. Gurinder Grewal, former president of the Punjab Medical Council, will join us through the course of this conversation. Malini Aisola, All India Drugs Network from Delhi, Probir, the chair of the medical devices at FICCI, Rajiv Nath, Forum Coordinator, the Association of Indian Medical Devices Industry, and Ganesh Sabat is the CEO of the Sahajanand Medical Technology, which is India's first company to commercialize stents right now in India. I want to start with Dr. B.K. Goyal. Dr. B.K. Goyal, do you believe that the cap is an overkill at where it is capped right now? Is it too low at 29,000 rupees?
Oh, I am not sure about whether it is too low or not, because the cost of a material or any device depends on the seller and the buyer. And if the seller is satisfied with the price, it is very fine. But what I am told today, patients are really very happy with this move of the government. But what I was told by some of the suppliers, that we will be only supplying the third generation stents, or second or third generation stents, and not the fifth generation stent, which will not be very nice for the patients. No, suppose there is a patient in my family, and I want to have the best stent or fifth generation stent, no, and I am deprived of it because if it is not available in the stock, as they are claiming, then it is difficult to treat the patient.
Right. So basically, Dr. B.K. Goyal, you're telling us.
Capping
yes.
is good.
You're telling us, and let me break this down for our audience. You're saying that because of the capping, we will not get state-of-the-art stents in India at all. We will only get 2 generations or 3 generations down. Ganesh,
yes.
Ganesh Sabat, is that true?
Stents only come to hospital where we can use them, unless they are not supplied by the manufacturers or the companies. If they don't stop supplying the higher quality stents, then they cannot come. We cannot avail of them.
Ganesh, will you stop supplying higher quality stents?
No, I think we are here to support SMT, the company that I represent. The company believes in saving lives, so we are here to save lives. We are here to provide the best of the quality of the products to the Indian patient. So we welcome the move from the government. Yes, of course, the price could have been better, but that will not stop us from supplying the best of the quality products here.
It will not stop you at all.
Yes.
And what is the manufacturing cost of a stent? 5th generation, as Dr. B.K. Goyal was calling it.
The 5th generation stent, the price can vary. So it will be, the stent, industry as such is a highly innovative industry. If, the R&D cost is substantially huge. So the manufacturing cost might be low, but the R&D cost is substantially huge. If I take the R&D cost, then it can come anywhere between, depending on the volume that you're doing, it can come anywhere between 15,000 to 20,000 rupees.
So 15,000 to 20,000 rupees, and if the cap is 26,000 rupees 900, there's still enough room there for margins and profits. Probir Das, do you agree that there is enough room right now between 15,000-20,000 rupees and 29,000 rupees 600 for margin?
Depends on what category of product you are talking about. It is different companies work on different generations of stents. Different companies work on different innovations on stents. And it is very difficult to bring them to a commonality. It's not as simplistic to say that what A is doing is what B is doing, and so on and so forth. So what somebody calls a 3rd generation stent, the cost of that is very different from another person's 3rd generation stent. It is not an antibiotic where you're talking about a certain antibiotic and then everybody's antibiotic is the same. Now, it's where I agree with Ganesh is if you look at the huge global cost of R&D and look at a very long supply chain, India is not necessarily the most conducive supply chain given the large size of the country, the poor state of cold chain, the large consignment inventory requirement, etc., etc. I'd say that, every company, every healthcare medical device company, at the end of the day, works with the patient in the mind, because if there are no patients, then we don't have a business. But whether 29,600 is going to fit the latest generation stent, I seriously will have a doubt with.
All right, go ahead.
I would like to say, whether if your manufacturing cost, including the R&D, is 15 to 20,000 rupees, 29,600, is it a good price? I think if you look at any industry, the gross margin of that industry is up 60% or higher, because there are other costs that you need to take care. The supply chain cost.
So, but my question is, why can't you? I mean, we know that the Indian pharma industry is supplying pharmaceuticals, although not stents, pharmaceuticals to the whole world by reverse engineering and bringing down the cost. Now that the cost is capped at 29.6 thousand rupees, isn't that a possibility also for companies like yourself to actually find a way to do your R&D, to manufacture, to distribute in that price?
So, if you're coming up with a stent, it is not that you can copy anybody. You'll have your own stent design, you will have your own drug formulation, you will have your own polymer. So you have to do the R&D from the scratch. You just cannot copy someone in the market. So it is completely different from pharma. Pharma, you have a formulation, you mix two compounds, and then you have the formulation.
Malini Aisola, do you believe that the cap is too low?
No, I don't, and I have to say that I don't agree with some of the other speakers and the opinions that have been voiced. The cap has actually taken into consideration the cost of production of stents, and as well as the landed prices, and what the NPPA has tried to do is actually just check the excessive margins and the exploitative pricing in the supply chain. And also, I mean, the data out there, if you can actually see some of the circulars that have been published by the NPPA, and the cost of production that was submitted by some of the companies was actually in the range of 7,000 to 8,000 rupees. So I really don't understand and we've also heard from other companies where the cost of production is, in the range of about 10,000 rupees. So there's more than adequate margin being provided in the cap of 30,000. And secondly, I just want to address the issue of R&D. So again, we know that, there hasn't been enough evidence to support a differentiation in the different kinds of stents. The fact still remains that not a single company has submitted a document to the NPPA or any other body in government to show that there is superiority of models of their stents in terms of patient outcomes.
This is actually brilliant, and I just want to break this down for our viewers watching at home. So when you go in for an angioplasty, you have to buy a stent. Now, what the NPPA, which is the authority of the government that actually decides pricing, what they have, and up till now there was no cap, what they've told us is that something that takes about 8,000 rupees to manufacture in India was being sold at 1.95 lakh rupees to the patient at a time when the patient doesn't have the mind space to really choose, and you go ahead and you buy the best one. Something that costs about 40,000 rupees to import was being sold at nearly 2 lakh rupees. And Malini is telling us something very, very important. She's saying that while there are a lot of arguments on this panel, at this table, saying that R&D will become very difficult, she's saying there is no difference in the various types of stents that people are selling. There's very little difference to actually tell them apart. So while somebody might say to you, and this is to everyone who said 5th generation won't be available or 4th generation won't be available, Malini's argument is there's no difference between Gen 1, 2 and 5. So what that generation thing was simply put in place in order to increase the prices. So I will then take this back to all of those people who said R&D will not be available.
Can I make a point? This is Probir.
Go ahead.
Yeah. See, if one of the things that you started the conversation with, and even Amita was talking about it in her piece, is that there is this potential of a massive scale up of angioplasties. The numbers will really go up because of this price cap. And if that happens, whether we are domestic or we are international manufacturers, we'd be the happiest, because at the end of the day, we manufacture stents for the patients. And if there are more patients, we have a more sustainable business and we have a more fulfilling purpose. Now, if that happens because of the price cap, and it's got to be seen whether that will happen or not happen, if indeed that happens, that's the most welcome thing. However, if you look at the CGHS pricing data, a few years back, the CGHS pricing was brought down from 65,000 to, somewhere between 20 and 30,000 rupees. It was assumed that it will create a huge amount of CGHS, large number of additional patients. That did not happen. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be a similar case. We have to wait and watch.
So I want to understand this argument. I want to understand this argument, and Dr. Gurinder Grewal also joins us right now. But first, Dr. Sanjeev Mehta, the argument that because the prices are now capped, we'll see more cases of stents being used. Is that because doctors will now recommend more angioplasties, or is that because people who couldn't afford it up till now will now be able to come forward and get it done?
Yeah, sure. Faye, first of all, I want to congratulate you. You were at the helm. We were on a program a couple of weeks ago, and I'm so glad that the prices have come down. Clearly, they've taken, they've shed a lot of flap that was there, and it was required. It's a moot point where the price is going to be fixed, and I'm sure there will be revisions on this. And I don't think there's any argument that what has happened is a good thing.
Do you believe, Dr. Mehta, that R&D will be affected, that we won't get the state-of-the-art stuff, we won't get the latest stuff?
I doubt that. I think there is going to be so much competition, and there is going to be the desire. Every company wants to give you the best. You already heard from the manufacturers. So I don't think that will happen.
Dr. B.K. Goyal wants to respond to you. Dr. B.K. Goyal, go ahead.
Now, from the point of view of patients as well as the cardiologist, it is the best thing which has happened. And as long as we get the high quality stents available, as somebody from the panel was suggesting that all companies want to supply the best material, we will be most happy that this continues and this price rise is stopped and cut. The capping is done at 29,600, and if that is adequate and we get the stents, nothing like it. It is wonderful. In last 3 days, I have been receiving phone calls from the patients or prospective patients that is it a fact that the prices have reduced, or when we come to the hospital the same prices will be charged. No, I said the prices which have been declared capped at 29,600 will be charged for any stent of any kind, whether it is drug-eluting or it is absorbable stent. That will not affect the price.
That will not affect the prices at all. And I want to bring in Rajiv Nath here. Rajiv Nath, if the stent was being sold at, it was being made at 8,000 rupees and sold at 2 lakh rupees, are you saying the rest of the margin went in R&D, that the rest of the margin went in improving the product? Because Malini just told us that there's very little difference between these products.
I think we're confusing many terminologies here.
Explain it to us. Explain it to us, please.
One is cost of production, one is ex-factory price. Okay, the ex-factory price of a manufacturer includes the cost of production and his profit margins. And the cost of production includes his variable cost and his fixed cost. Variable cost normally includes material cost, labor cost, power cost, packaging cost.
But can that be from 8,000 to 2 lakh rupees, Mr. Nath?
Just let me explain to you.
Can the variable cost fluctuate that much in any business?
No, I will just explain to you.
Yes.
The variable cost includes these elements. The fixed cost normally includes the elements of overheads, which includes R&D, marketing, selling, finance, all those things. From this you derive plus profits, then you arrive at an ex-factory price.
No, I understand
The
that.
ex-factory
It's a
price was
great
between
class.
8,000
It's a great
rupees
class
to-
in how companies and manufacturers function, Mr. Nath. Now, this
No, let
is
me just
true for
finish.
all manufacturers. Now, are you telling me that your overheads or your fluctuating costs could fluctuate anywhere between 8,000 rupees and 2 lakh rupees? Because there has
No,
to
let
be
me
some
explain.
sort, and these are numbers put out by the NPPA. So all of your overheads
let
and
me
your
finish,
costs should
please.
technically be part of your manufacturing cost, including your advertising, including whatever you're paying to water the plants that are in front of the
Yes.
factory. So what costs are you talking about that are actually fluctuating?
Let me finish and explain to you.
Yes, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
The pricing of the product has been from 8,000 rupees to 15,000 rupees. Now, that is the
Okay.
price which includes all these things, and that's what the manufacturer gets.
Okay.
The EBITDA, average EBITDA of the Indian manufacturers has been found to be at about 8% only. Now, post-manufacturing, the factory price, the difference between 2 lakhs and 15,000, that's going between the distribution chain and the hospital network. I told you in the last debate that the margins are at the end of the supply chain. The manufacturers are not getting more than 15,000. So it's not that from 2 lakh rupees they're getting money for their R&D or for their fixed cost. In the 12,000 or 15,000 rupees, they have to manage with whatever they get. Okay, they are selling to some customers at a discounted price, like to tenders, through distributors at maybe 8,000 rupees. We have been saying consistently, whether for stents or for medical devices, we were the ones who first were the whistleblowers about this whole thing. We
Right.
wanted for the consumer the benefit that the multiplier of 10 to 20 times from the ex-factory should come down to 3 to 4 times or maximum 5 times.
Absolutely. So Rajiv Nath, my question to you is this. You're telling me that the total cost of manufacturing could be 15,000 rupees. Let's
Yes.
let's add a little more. Let's take it up to 18,000 rupees. Let's say it costs 18,000 rupees to manufacture these things. Everything else you tell us, as we're seeing on our screen, is margin for the distributor who adds zero
Yes.
value. Margin for the hospital who adds zero value to the actual product. They're just taking it from point A to point B. Those are the margins that have been cut down. So within
Yes.
the 15,000 rupees that we're talking about, this should technically also include R&D, because you
Yes.
know that distributors are not doing R&D and hospitals are not doing R&D. So the quality of the product that is actually reaching the customer or the patient in this case shouldn't in any way suffer.
You're completely right. Now, suppose the ex-factory price is 15,000 rupees. We have been saying for all medical devices, the MRP should normally be between 3 to 5 times.
Okay,
If you say
Probir?
average 4 times, then the MRP should be about 60,000 rupees. And that's what we had been recommending earlier on. So
All
by
right, all right. Let me
60,000
just bring
rupees,
in
the
Probir
price will come
Das.
down
Right,
to
right.
about one-third of the existing MRP.
Okay, let me just
But
bring
the
in
current
Probir
price
Das.
of
Probir Das has to
30,000
leave. Probir, do you agree that technically, if we are only cutting the margins of the distributor, the quality of the product should not be in question at all?
Can I intervene, please?
Probir Das.
No, there are two elements. I think we are getting a little confused. Number one, oftentimes we make this comment that a distributor is not adding value. One has to understand, when a stent is implanted in a patient, the size, the decision on the size of the stent, etc., is taken on the table. So at that point in time, it is impossible to source a stent. So for every stent implanted, and there are cardiologists on the panel, very eminent cardiologists, they will agree that when you implant a stent in a patient and the patient pays for one stent, the distributor is actually putting 30-40 stents on the shelf of the hospital as consignment material, for which somebody has paid for it. So there is a huge cost of capital. You are talking about a country where cost of capital is very, very high, and you are in, you are on a commercial channel, so you will understand that. So that's one issue. The second piece that I wanted to talk about is that it is not that it is not. We are not saying that there would be no innovation now onwards in stents. See, all said and done, India contributes to 1% of the global turnover of medical devices. So this 1% is not going to define whether the 99% of the market is going to innovate or not innovate. Where we are concerned is that it is important to balance patient outcome with commercial viability.
So now we bottle it down to commercial viability.
With the pricing that has been, we are absolutely.
Yeah. So
one second. I want to bring in Dr. Gurinder Grewal, who hasn't spoken up till now.
29,600.
Yes, please.
See,
Can I?
Dr. Grewal, here's the question. When we started the debate, those against the cap basically said that Generation 5 stents will not be available, that R&D will become difficult. But if we understand how the margins are placed right now, this is squeezing the margins of the distributors and the hospitals. So it shouldn't technically affect the quality of the product, Dr. Grewal. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is absolute nonsense. I don't want to use this word, but it is a fact. NPPA, before deciding the prices, first of all, let me make it clear, they have not lowered the prices of the stents. I have presented to the NPPA a quotation, right, in which the dealer of a imported stents have given us the stent at 30,000 rupees, right? Along with that, he writes the MRP on the stent, which varies from 1.2 lakh or 2.5 lakh to 1.6 lakh. When I am getting all the stents up to 30,000 rupees, what is the problem with my cardiologist friend? When they are already getting at their price, nobody has lowered the price. Only thing is that the medical corruption which was going out of this, the margin of the hospital price, and to which it was sold to the patient. And that is a massive, it is more than 1,000% of the basic price. Why should they be bothered? I mean, and all the manufacturers presented their case to the NPPA along with the president of the Cardiology Society of India. And they should have been able to convince it. We have given him the document that this company is giving us the imported stents, which is costing to the hospital or a nursing home or to a cardiologist maximum of 30,000 rupees. The so-called this medicated and the latest energy and all those things. And now people are now just finding. Do you see how the things are operating?
Yes.
So
I get a picture such as
absolutely. You've completely nailed it, Dr. Grewal. I just want a few people to respond to what you said.
So let me respond to this. Yes, the cap, the ceiling price is 29,600. That will be the price to the patient. So that will include hospital profit. Mind it, hospital has made lot of investment. It's a capital intensive industry where there will be a lot of investment in real estate, a lot of investment in one bed will be costing 1 crore rupees.
Hang on. Okay, so let me just argue this on behalf of the hospital. The hospital charges you over and above that for everything.
That's right.
They are charged for everything. Nobody is saying do the surgery for 30,000 rupees. When you print out that long bill, the stent, which is one item in that entire bill, needs to be 30,000 rupees. The hospital doesn't give you a pack of earbuds for free.
Yeah,
they charge you for
absolutely,
everything.
So they charge for the procedure cost, but at the same time, they have made some certain investment. So 29,600. So if you look from the manufacturer point of view,
this sort of hospital margins, let's put them up on the screen. Are they conscionable? When someone is fighting for their lives, can the hospital really, in any conscience, yes, Dr. B.K. Goyal, charge this kind of money? Dr. Goyal and then Dr. Mehta after that. First, I want to go over to Dr. Goyal. He wants to intervene. Go ahead, Dr. Goyal.
Yes. You see, as regards hospital charges are concerned, 29,600 is the price for which the hospital has to purchase. They can add 10% or 15% of their handling charges. That's all. But they don't require to charge 300% or 200% or MRP price and all this. This all nonsense has been stopped by this thing.
No, absolutely, I agree with you.
But I only wish and desire that the suppliers should continue supplying all kinds of stents which they were doing so far.
Yes.
And not deprive the patients of high quality stents. That's my appeal.
That's an excellent point.
So we promise you, we are going to supply you the best quality of the product. Best stent that we have right now. But the point that I'm trying to make here, there is a hospital margin. There are a lot of margin for the distributor because they are making this working capital investment. They have to keep the stock 64 sizes we have. They have to keep those 64 sizes at the hospital. That makes a lot of investment. And
But that's,
we do
that's
understand.
warehousing cost, to be honest.
I think that the doctor is not...
So at the end of it, a manufacturer will get squeezed. There is no mechanism to save the manufacturer. My price cost of manufacturing is 15 to 18,000. Then if the price is 29,600,
so you were saying
I'll be left with 20,000 or less than 20,000.
The distributor, who's a very important and a very powerful part of this chain, is going to squeeze the manufacturer for margin. That's
they
what you,
need,
that's
otherwise they will not survive. The supply chain will
Rajiv Nath?
go for a toss.
Yes.
No,
Yeah,
on the
okay,
other hand,
Dr. Mehta.
the hospital, so since the number of procedures will go up, it's going to be good for you, it's going to be good for the distributor.
You know, I'm actually, every time a doctor
how
points
you're
out,
going
one
to-
second, every time a doctor points out that the number of procedures will go up, I have a nervousness in the pit of my stomach, Dr. Mehta. Is this because people will actually come forward and opt for surgeries that they couldn't afford up till now? Or is this because now hospitals and doctors are going to recommend surgeries that are unnecessary in order to drum up margins that they have lost from the cap?
No.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, I don't think that...
Can I intervene at this?
Yes, I'll let Dr. Mehta answer, then I'll come to you, Dr. Grewal. Yes.
You know, I appreciate your point, but Faye, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the doctors are going to offer what was...
To be fair, you can't speak for every hospital in the country.
I can't speak for everybody,
Yes.
but I do know that so many patients who would not want a bypass surgery could not afford 2 lakh rupees when offered in an emergency. They would all give it, but for routine procedures they were afraid to do that. I think that number is going to increase. In fact, my concern, and I completely share this with you, is that, and I want to use your channel to get this to the patients and the public at large, that please don't overuse stents now that they become affordable. In fact, one of my cardiologists told me today.
How do we know what is overuse?
So sometimes, and this is why again we say you have to have your conversation with your cardiologist, with your cardiac surgeon, whether 5 stents is really good for you, or whether we should stick to the 2 to 2.5, 3 stents limit. There's going to be a tendency that now stents will be so reasonably priced that bypass surgery may become financially unviable, and people would take the financial decision rather than the medical decision. Please remember, it's medically at 5 stents probably better to do a bypass surgery, and so they may choose a cheaper option. That being said, I think overall, if it is done in a good manner with proper oversight,
Dr.
it's going to be
Dr. Gurinder Grewal, one second. Dr. Gurinder, excellent point. That the medical community might push unnecessary surgeries, and people will start deciding based on the finances.
I'm also in the medical community,
Yes.
and I'm also in the management of a medical college.
Yes.
And I have been in the medical council also. And let me tell these gentlemen, they say number will decrease, increase. The misuse was being done till day before. For the simple reason, I have a cardiologist friend who's a national repute and a decorated cardiologist who has confessed with me that a referring doctor gives him a call to put in a stent at a patient with a 50% blockage, which is not required. And he is an eminent cardiologist, and he wrote an open letter to the Prime Minister of India also, and that how will you stop this medical corruption? Now with this capping, the referral fees to the referring doctors will vanish. Hospitals have been charging earlier already for the angiography, for the angioplasty, for the bed charges, everything. If any blackmail is being done by a company, I think the government should take a serious note of that and initiate the legal actions against them. You cannot allow them to take the people as the ransom. And let me tell you also one thing more, that these stents were, if they say we have to occupy, it is the distributor's headache that he has to provide you this stent. It is not the hospital headache. And there are 64 or 48 type of stents. I am aware of that. They measure from 16 mm to 48 mm, and the width measures were from 2.5 mm to 4.5 mm. You don't put all the stents in every patient. Now the misuse will stop. Because that.
But okay, Dr. Grewal also responds to this point that that Ganesh was making, which is basically that it's a capital-intensive business, that distributors and hospitals have to put up capital. Hospitals have to actually stock the stents. Do you think that's a valid reason for the kind of margins that they're charging?
Absolutely not. If I open a hospital, I don't depend on the money of the drug company. I am not supposed to depend on the money of the stent company. I have my own charges. I will make my own charges.
Absolutely.
I am charging for the angiography. I am charging for the bed. I am charging for everything else. How can the hospital investment has to do anything? And R&D cannot be affected with also this, because the manufacturer is already selling us the stent at 14 to 16,000 when it is imported.
Very well said. Very well said.
This is absolute nonsense to misguide the population and
Rajiv Nath, that's
people.
a clear rebut to what you said, Rajiv Nath. Dr. Grewal calling it absolute nonsense.
No, I applaud Dr. Grewal, and I applaud him, and that's the right way. The price of the product should be kept separately from the procedure. We fully agree on that. I want to come back to the basic question we discussed at the beginning. If the ex-factory price is going to be about 15,000-20,000 rupees to make it profitable, including R&D, then we're talking about 29,000 minus 15,000 is left for the margin between the distributor, the financing of the
and
product,
importer,
the wholesaler. No, importer is separate. We're talking about manufacturer margin.
Yeah.
So between the hospital, hospital, distributor, wholesaler, and the supply chain and the logistics cost and transportation cost. So we are afraid, that's where manufacturers have told me what they're afraid is that this 30,000 rupees will not be enough to cover this 50,000 rupees for the distribution chain.
Okay, hang on.
So
let's ask this question.
But they're already doing it.
Let's just understand. One second. So anyone who's
doing it.
Malini, or let me ask Ganesh this question. Ganesh, what is a stent? And give me short answer so our audience can know. What is a stent made of?
It's made of cobalt chromium or platinum chromium.
It's a metal. It's a
medical grade metal.
What size is it?
The size can vary from 2 mm to 5 mm.
So a packed one that hasn't been opened yet, what size would that be?
No. It will depend on your artery. See, everyone's will have a different artery.
Fair enough.
So
I'm saying if I have to transport it from point A to point B, how large a truck do I need? How much is it going to cost me? Do I have to refrigerate that truck? Does it have to be... No. How is this transport done? Tell me.
So the transportation cost, essentially is not that huge.
It's not huge.
The point that is...
So when he's talking about distribution, I'm just rebutting that one point, that basically if the manufacturer makes 15,000 rupees out of a total of 30,000 rupees, there's 15,000 rupees left for distributor to actually get it from point A to point B, which is what a distributor should be doing.
So let me answer to
what is the margin on gauze? What is the margin on bandage? What is the margin on any other device that needs to be used in a hospital? Is it 50%?
No, let me answer to you that. So we have 64 sizes, okay? Not every patient will need 64 sizes, but you don't know what sizes the patient will need. So that means the hospital has to keep that 64 sizes. And here, the distributor, let's say I sell it at 20,000 rupees into 64, he is making 15 lakhs investment.
No, but
if he's selling those many to a hospital, we all know how business works.
No, the hospitals are not buying it.
Cut a deal in
no,
which
the hospitals are not buying it. It's on consignment. The stock will be there on consignment. Only when it is used in the patient, then only it gets billed.
Are we actually, so I will bring Malini in here. Malini, are we actually sitting around and having an argument about the fact that a life-saving device should have more than a 50% margin for the distributor? How can we even, with our hands in our hearts, have this conversation, Malini?
Okay, can I answer?
No,
along with Malini, can I answer to that?
After Malini. After Malini.
This discussion about having so for one, I cannot fathom why a hospital requires such a high margin. It's not really clear what the hospital is doing in this whole process. They are just simply reselling the stents without adding any value. The way the stents are stored are just on bookshelves in the cath lab, the way all the other equipment is also stored.
Right.
All the other surgical equipment that is required for the procedure. There is no special sort of like, any arrangement that is required, that is made.
Yes.
And then when it comes to, the other margins in the supply chain. Sorry, we're having some issues here.
Go ahead. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, but we will come back, and I also want to open up our phone lines to audience members who want to call us, because let's be honest, the hospital charges you for everything. You're charged for the OT, you're charged for the services of the nurses and the doctors, you're charged for everything. There is no need why you need to, there's no reason why you need to make such a fat margin on this one device. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. Phone lines are open on the other side. Well, it's a heated discussion about the fact that the government has now capped, not slashed, but capped the prices of life-saving stents at 30,000 rupees. Remember, we brought you this story a few weeks ago when we talked about how a stent that actually should cost you anywhere between 40,000 rupees, because it takes about 8,000 rupees to manage, was being sold at 2 lakh rupees. And now the government has in fact capped the price of stents at 30,000 rupees. There are various arguments being made by the panel right now as to why this cap is unfair. Argument number one is that research and development will be impacted. Argument number two is that distributor cost will not be covered. And argument number three is warehousing costs for something that can be just kept on a shelf. I'm not convinced with any of these arguments. Fundamentally, I think the people on one side of this this debate are losing the debate right now, because none of these arguments are really very convincing. The other question I have, Dr. Sanjeev Mehta, is life-saving TB drugs have already been capped. So why can't life-saving stents also be capped? Why is there a need to make a profit out of something that's life-saving and such a massive profit?
I completely agree with you.
Can I say a few words, please?
Okay, Dr. Grewal, go ahead, and then I'll go to Dr. Mehta.
Yeah, I first of all want to, to all of you, congratulate the Malini. She has worked day and night to bring the issue through the court and everywhere. Two, this is not the end of the game. We are going to get the cap on all the drugs, and we are aware of the margins of the drugs. We are aware of I'm a doctor, practicing doctor. I'm a postgraduate from PGI Chandigarh. And let me tell you, we are aware of the margins in the implants of the knee and the hip. And we are aware of the cochlear implants. We are aware of the eye lenses, everything. And we will see to it that patient get the things at a right price. I have the right to charge for my professional services, but I have no right to make profit from the drug, laboratory, or from the implant. If I do it, that is called medical corruption. And that comes under unethical practices of the Medical Council of India.
Well said, Dr. Grewal. I want to also join Dr. Grewal in acknowledging Malini Aisola, who's fought this entire battle in court and brought us this far.
Absolutely.
Malini, take a bow. I'm sure that there are thousands and thousands of heart patients across the country who are grateful right now for the hard work that you're doing. But it fundamentally drives back the same point, Dr. Mehta, that the TB drug has been capped. There's no reason why stents couldn't be capped. Malini was right the entire time.
I completely agree with you. Let's look at it. Why is there so much noise about this? Drugs such as TB, HIV, cancer drugs, antibiotics have all been capped, and for the good of the patient. And I think if you look back, and the lesson learned from there is that the medicines have actually just gone better. I completely disagree with the fact that this is going to be a hindrance. I think this is a great step for the patients. They're going to benefit from it.
Well, I have someone on the phone line. One second, Rajiv Nath. I have someone on the phone line. I want to listen to this phone call and then go to Malini to respond to it.
This is one question.
Yes, one second. This is an anonymous call. He doesn't want to reveal his name. He wants to just add one point to the conversation. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I was just going through all the conversation. No one has touched what is the basic point in this.
Which
if a stent costs 35,000 rupees to a distributor, the foreign company is paying custom duty, his own R&D cost, custom duty, his margins, everything is calculated in them. And this, in turn, 35,000 rupees is the cost to the distributor, which sells at 75,000 to the hospital, which has a MRP of 1,25,000, for example. So hospitals are very clever. They take bill on the MRP. If somebody raises hue and cry, you are selling it. This is our cost. And they take credit note with this also for the difference of 50,000 rupees to show that.
Yes.
So the companies are also hand in. My industry, our industry is also in hand with these distributors and the doctors who are using it, because these all distributors are covered by FCPA, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act They have to sign an authorization. They are not giving any bribes to anyone. But the fact is that this 35,000 and 75,000, they are keeping a margin for the cuts as well. And despite being sold at a distributor for 35,000 rupees, they actively participate in the conferences where they will shell out 50, 60 lakhs per company to finance that conferences which are being lavishly held in five-star hotels. Their foreign trips, everything is there.
So there is tremendous medical corruption involved in this entire process, is what you're saying.
And why they have to take the margins on the stents? Where they are getting a handsome margin on the PTCA procedure, which is 75,000 rupees or 1 lakh of rupees. That is their procedure cost only.
Fair enough. I also have Gerard, who's on the phone line from Bangalore. Gerard, go ahead.
Yes. About the entire debate going on, what our worry as a public is, okay, if you say that you can quantify the number of procedures in the hospital since the prices of the stent have been slashed down.
Yes.
So the number of procedures will go up, of course. But how will the hospital? Our apprehension is, will the hospital will try to compensate by increasing the procedure cost?
Yes, by moving that price somewhere else is what you're saying. That's a very good question. Malini
I don't think.
You don't think, Dr. Grewal, you don't think that the hospital will overcharge to make up for the loss of margin?
The fear is well founded, but I think anybody who will try to double the charges of the procedure or something like that, he or that hospital, nursing home or individual cardiologist will have to have shown as his own income, and I'm sure they will not show this as income. And procedure charges are already included in the stent charges. I had asked a question for this manufacturer who's sitting here. Does anybody fall sick by choice? The answer is no. It's a compulsion. And does anybody take a medicine out of fun or love? The answer is no. It is a compulsion. And we have no business to exploit anybody if he's fallen out of compulsion in my hands.
Right.
We have to give him the best of our professional capability and give him the best of health. And if these manufacturers are saying, I said that some of them should be put behind the bars if I am there in the...
So, first of all,
can I come in?
if I can, Rajiv, if I can take this question. Thanks a lot. We are not here to make a huge amount of profit. So I have told, we welcome the step. We welcome the price cap. What we are saying is, let me clarify because otherwise we will get misunderstood. Every country has got some mechanism to control the healthcare cost, and we are all for that. But the point is, it should not be a predatory pricing where I have to stop manufacturing. I'm all for supplying the best of the stent, and I'm saying right now, live, we will supply the best of the stent that we have. But it might be impractical for us to keep on innovating on the product.
He's already selling.
But I don't understand this argument of why will it be impractical? Why will it be impractical? I want to give the floor to Malini right now. 1 second, Malini.
Can I answer?
Okay.
Can I answer, please?
One second. Malini Aisola, I don't understand why it has to become unviable to manufacture these stents because the price has been capped, but that's the argument we're getting.
Innovate. Not manufacture. Manufacture will be able to manufacture.
Unviable,
for
innovation becomes unviable.
Because
let Malini answer. Malini, go ahead.
I think that fundamentally we're disputing the numbers right now, but in fact the price has been capped on the basis of data that was provided by the industry. So it's very hard to understand why the industry is disputing the figures that they actually provided to the NPPA on the basis of which this price was actually decided. I mean, I don't understand the argument for stopping production because
Malini,
there's more
we
than
have
enough.
not
I also want to ask Malini this question.
We have not got the transparency
the ceiling price.
how the price is fixed. We don't know the reason.
Okay,
how it has been fixed.
One second. Let me just ask Malini this. Malini, there's 1 second, Rajiv. Malini, there is obviously a view across the medical community that this price, the cap has been a knee-jerk reaction. I want you to just take us through how long this battle has been. What is the process that the government actually went through?
It's not a knee-jerk reaction. It is just they have lifted the curtain from the actual price of this set.
Malini, Malini, tell us about your battle. How long has it been? Because as we speak, there are WhatsApp messages going out. Malini, as we speak, there are WhatsApp messages going out where political parties are taking credit for capping this, for capping the price of stents. So I want you to help us understand how this happened. Malini, go ahead.
So I just have to say that there have been a lot of other people involved in this process, and this is really success on behalf of many different people who have been involved in this.
Yes, go ahead.
For example, there have been people who have been petitioning the Rajya Sabha committee on petitions. There is an individual who has put, he was on your show, Advocate Birender Sangwan, who had petitioned the Delhi High Court. As a result of which the stents were included in the National List of Essential Medicines. Following that, the Department of Pharmaceuticals refused to take action for the longest time, and in fact a second writ petition had to be filed by him in the Delhi High Court. And then then there was a notification in December to place stents in the schedule of the Drug Prices Control Order. And so this has been a very long process. The numerous consultations that the NPPA has undertaken with every possible stakeholder, and not on one occasion, but on multiple occasions, and then has put out notices asking for data and asking for inputs, and then reviewing those inputs. This has been a very extensive process, so this is long overdue, considering that the sort of exploitation that we have seen has been, going on for over a decade. So I do not think at all this is a knee-jerk reaction.
This is not a knee-jerk reaction. It's been in the works for several years. So that's a response for those people who think it's a knee-jerk reaction, and for those people who might mushroom at this point, taking credit for the change. Priya is on the phone line from Bangalore, after which I'll go to Rajiv Nath. Priya, go ahead.
I have to make 2 points. Sorry, close.
Priya?
I think it's a great move by the government to cap the price at 30,000. The surgeries are going to be far more affordable for people all across the country.
Yes.
The only concern that we have at this point is, after this bold move, the hospitals going to do something else to fleece?
Okay. Will the hospitals slip in that cost somewhere else? That's a fair question. Rajiv Nath, you wanted to make a point very quickly. Go ahead.
Let me just remind you that IMED was always for price capping, but we wanted rational pricing. We have moved to what we call a price level, which will, the whole idea about capping was to bring down the competition not on higher price, but on buying price. Now capping will bring down the competition to buying price.
What would have been that rational price, Rajiv?
No, he's telling a lie. He's telling a lie.
When we have the cap at 30,000, competition will not be on the MRP. Competition will be on the buying. Since the competition will be on buying price, the pressure will come down to the manufacturer to reduce the pricing. That's what Mr. Ganesh is worried about, because then he is forced to cut down from 15,000 rupees to maybe 8,000 rupees. And at 8,000 rupees, he'll not be making margins. This is the apprehension of the manufacturers that's been reported to me. Number one. Number two, the main issue over here is intentions are very good.
Rajiv, I don't understand this, okay?
Yes.
Now, obviously, stents are absolutely necessary because they're life-saving. We can't do without them, which means the hospitals will have to stock them. Their doctors can't turn around. Dr. B.K. Goyal and Dr. Grewal can't turn around and say, "Aaj surgery nahi ho sakti because we don't have stents." That's not possible. The hospitals will continue to order them and to stock them, which means that manufacturers will have to continue to manufacture. The distributor has absolutely no business making such a large margin in a product that has this much demand. The distributor is doing nothing.
And they are selling us.
No, the problem is the distributors will be putting pressure on the manufacturers.
The distributor has no business putting pressure on anybody. The distributor has no business having this much power. The distributor has no business calling the shots in an industry that involves doctors who are performing life-saving surgeries and manufacturers who are making these products. This is where it actually boils down to. The distributors need to be brought down to their knees, and they have to actually make a margin that is respectable, and the margin that is respectable in our country is anywhere between 8 and 20%. Not 600%. That's absolutely unviable, and that's where the problem is, and that is the problem that has now been nipped in the bud. I have to wrap up this conversation. I want to thank everyone on the panel, especially Malini, who's been with us this evening, and of course the three doctors who've been kind enough to join us in the conversation. Thank you for watching.
You can watch live TV on our website mpnow.in. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Magicbricks Now. And don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at Magicbricks Now. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/Magicbricks Now.